let's look at a case where we're using our temperature class. Well, if we want to put it on a heap, we need to use a pointer. So we're going to declare temperature star, and just to make it short, I'll call it T1, and I'll say that is a new temperature. That T1 is kind of hard to read. T1. And so that creates the pointer T1 and grabs an area for us to store the temperature. And in this case, it is a pointer. So T1 is pointing to our temperature object, and that's storing our Celsius value and whatever else we might have with our temperature. So we've created this object on our heap, and so we can create as many as we might need. So we can create another one. And maybe this time we're going to use the constructor that takes a value. And now we're going to get a T2. And here we set the value to 10. So there's a 10 here for the Celsius value. And so we can get those values back out by accessing our instances. But we don't have a variable name of the instance anymore. We have a pointer to the instance. So we can dereference that pointer. Say, get me what T1 is pointing to. T1 is pointing to the entire temperature object that's stored in memory. And if we want to get the Celsius value, we had a getter method on there. And we could call get Celsius. That will return us the value in here. That was whatever the default was that we set. I think we set the default to 0. And so that's going to return the 0. Now we haven't stored the 0 anywhere, so we would have to actually create some int to then assign it. So right now it's just dropping on the floor. And so let's look at another example where we actually create a place to keep that. So let's create an int, and we'll call it our T2 Celsius value. And then we can assign that equal to the dereference of T2. My eraser doesn't work that well. The dereference of T2 and calling the get Celsius. So T2 is actually on the stack. Let's create a little stack right here. And so T2 Celsius value is on the stack because it's declared without a new. So this is our T2 Celsius value. And it's going to dereference from our heap the T2 and then get the Celsius value stored there. And so we would have a 10 on our stack for the T2 Celsius value. So there's a shortcut for this syntax. Instead of doing star for the dereference, then the name, and then you have to use parentheses to make sure that you dereference it before you try to apply the dot. There's a simpler syntax. We could say this time let's use our T1. It's a dash and then the arrow symbol. And then we can call our get Celsius. So we are able to find our T1 object on the heap based on the pointer, and then call get Celsius, because we've defined temperature to have a get Celsius method, and that method is going to grab the value that is stored on our Celsius. So our T1 Celsius is going to have a 0 in it, and our 2T Celsius value is a different instance of the temperature, and so that one is going to have